Hi everyone, let's talk about Dominations, Road to Civilization again. So I covered this game when it was very first on Kickstarter. Now the final version is out and I assume available in shops and stuff. So yeah, what do I think now that I've seen the final thing? What's changed? Well, it turns out that a lot of stuff is largely the same, and that's great because if you saw my original first impressions, I was really keen on the game just from the prototype. And it's a different take on Civilization games, really, with that kind of strange domino laying, world building as the kind of main function, along with your card-based civilization tree. It's got kind of a thing that I liked in Viceroy. Oh, that was ages ago since we played Viceroy. But matching these, half coloured, a semicircle, isn't it? Half a circle. These coloured semicircles that you're trying to match up to maximise your points, and it restricts your placement in the civilization tree. Now, a lot of what I would say you can already see in that original video. I'll link in the description. So, some things that have changed. You have real monuments now instead of bunnies, although if you have the special editions, the bunnies are included again because I like that. But there are a few of the mastery cards have been taken out and they are a Kickstarter extra. And I don't think that's a bad thing because they specifically refer to, you can get these cards for your tech tree where, generate one green resource every turn. When you produce 2 green, get another green, and things like that. There is already a lot of stuff to get to grips with, especially as your tech tree expands and you've got all of these different powers. The extras that were taken out for a Kickstarter, mini expansion, are all referred to when another player produces this many of a colour, you produce some of a colour. And I feel like that is a good it's a good thing to remove because it's hard enough, I think, sometimes to look at all of the powers that you've got going on your turn and not have things that are dependent on paying really close attention to what other people are doing, because there's a lot going on in this game. There's a lot of kind of variables to be thinking about, especially as the ages go on and you start to need very specific things to satisfy your objectives and to fill in your tech tree as well. You always want to try and make as many notices as you possibly can, but you are restricted in the previous placements that you've made. And so yeah, it's nice to be able to just think about your own stuff without having to worry about what other people are doing. I did mention in the original Dominations video that is a little bit of a downside that, I don't know how you would combat that. As the game goes on, you do end up with so many different powers, and it's, you can kind of remember that, okay, I get a red, a blue, and a green at the start of the round. But then thinking about, they're all in different places in your tech tree, and you can't group them together to make that easier to remember because it's another spatial tiling part really that you need to match these colors up. And so you have this kind of jumble of abilities that can be quite wide ranging, and there isn't kind of an easy way to just remember, okay, start a turn is these things. When I produce this, I get this. It's not impossible. It's just that we do tend to forget. I should have gotten this. I should have gotten 2 more of this. I generated 4 blue, so I should have generated 2 extra, and that would have meant that I could have picked a cost 6 card instead. That might have completely changed my whole turn there. So yeah, it's that's still a little thing in it. But yeah, the production is absolutely fantastic. I'd only seen it in just that prototype form that was a very, very nice prototype. By the way, it's very representative of what the final thing has ended up being. But then in the final version, you've got the lovely little plastic trays for all of the cards and the tiles themselves. Oh, and the big thing that I should talk about as well is the solo mode, which you can download on Board Game Geek. You have to print the cards out yourself, and there's a little rule sheet that takes you through it. And it's nice. It's that more recent thing of over the last 2 or 3 years of having these kind of AI opponents rather than just play through the game with a couple of restrictions and beat your high score. It's something to play against that's it's not necessarily doing things to you, but it is taking cards it is progressing, it is scoring points, it's competing on influence and all of that stuff. I'll say that I do like the implementation. It's very easy to get to grips with. There's just, okay, remember to draw a tile. This is its priority for the round. It's either going to build a city, upgrade a city, or do a monument, and then it's going to get a specific card. And it's kind of geared towards trying to achieve its objectives as well. But because it can't really be that intelligent about what it's doing at what time, and there are a lot of times where it just completely wastes its time and kind of just it isn't really going for its objectives because it can't. You're just drawing these cards, and I've only played against it a few times, but I've found that I've very, very comfortably beaten the score of the AI. So I've seen discussions on Board Game Geek and stuff. They're going to think about ways of making it more difficult, and that it's just I believe that a fan had kind of presented this to them. So not kind of putting it down in that way. I'm glad that it even exists as an option. But giving them the AI more points when they achieve the people at the end of each age. Giving if you get them, you get the normal points, but if the AI gets them, they get 20 points or something like that. So it incentivizes you even more to keep those away from the AI players because they don't tend to generate that many resources. Yeah, there's a few tweaks that can be made to it, but it's good to have that option in the first place. Multiplayer game works just as well as it did in the prototype, streamlined a little by taking those watching what your opponents are doing cards out, but at the same time they did add more kind of interactivity and stuff. But I feel like just personally, I'm thinking about enough on other players' turns. I'm desperately trying to think about what I am going to do and keeping an eye on what domino have they put out, what colours are now available there, what's in my hand. You're still engaged in other people's turns, but there's a lot to think about for yourself without those cards on as well. And there are extra additions, so there's a card that you can get if you didn't get any of the people at the end of the age. There's a card you can include where it doesn't get you any points, but it gets you a little special power. That's one of the Kickstarter extras as well. And Capital Cities is another thing. They are all nice little extras, but just the base game itself, if you don't get the special edition, it's a great experience. And yeah, you can see me talk about it in the original Kickstarter. I really enjoyed it, and I still do with this final version. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you for the next game. Bye.